High Performance Vet Pro Radio.
Welcome to High Performance Vet Pro Radio. Here, you will learn everything you need to know to become a high-performance veterinary professional. We will focus on optimizing your sleep, fitness, nutrition, mental performance, stress response, and work-life balance. Please enjoy these professional interviews with cutting-edge content from Dr. Jennifer Quammen and human performance coach Ryan Smith from hyperfliving.com.
This was a really, really fun presentation for me to put together. This was kind of stemmed out of all kinds of things, talking about New Year's resolutions and all the things that kind of go on here in January, and really wanted me to kind of dive in a little bit more of the mental performance things that I do with athletes and have done in the past. So let me blow this up here. All right, good to go. All right. So, So let's talk about the language of success and failure. And so this is a kind of a crazy concept, I guess, when we talk about that it's actually a language that identifies and creates success or failure in our life. And success is one of those terms. It is not what, as you'll see here in a little bit, it's called a power word or power language. Success can actually be very nebulous. So you can be wealthy without success, and you can have success without a large amount of finances. Success is really what you kind of determine it to be, as is failure too, right? If I don't pass an exam, that could potentially be failure. Or if I just was not studying the way that I wanted to, that could also be failure. So a lot of ambiguity to both the terms success and failure. So really want to kind of put the language that we use every day behind that, and kind of go through the process and hopefully help you to identify words that you use and questions that you use in your daily life to kind of go through this. So first thing I want to do, if you are not familiar with who we are, I'll go to this one, come back to that in a moment. Obviously my partner who is not feeling well, that is Dr. Jen Quammen. She has her, obviously, DVM, as well as has a master's in public health. We have this business that's called High Performance Living, which is about ultimately helping veterinarians and veterinary professionals thrive in their life. She's predominantly a small animal practitioner. She's done some mixed work, but she now, so that we can focus on helping more and more veterinarians, she does relief work on the side and has quite a few practices that she works with. She's also a member of the AVMA's Council on Veterinary Services, which is a volunteer position. She's been on that for a few years. She was just recently elected to the Kentucky Veterinary Medical Association as the vice president. And obviously, I said she's an entrepreneur in things that we do, whereas my background is completely different, which I come from the world of human performance. So I've been 27 years of dealing with the human animal, the human athlete animal, I guess you could say, and really as a human performance coach. It's like, what can we do to enhance our performance? What can we do to get better every single day? My background is I have a master's in exercise physiology. I'm also certified as something called a food psychology coach. So we look at the emotions and the mindset that goes along with eating and dieting and nutrition. I'm certified in something called neuro-linguistic programming, which is modeling of excellence is the easiest way to put it. And then I'm also trained in sports hypnosis, graphology, which is looking at handwriting analysis, and then mindscaping, which is using something we're going to talk about tonight, which are metaphors in our language. So I'm going to go backwards here. So really, there's two big things that govern our mental lives and ultimately even our physical lives. And it's those two things are the quality of the questions we ask ourselves and the metaphors that we use in our daily life. And it's going to sound really confusing as we talk about this, but as I dive in here, hopefully this will bring some clarity to it as well. But so think about that. The quality of our lives is governed by two things: the quality of the questions we ask, and I guess the quality of the questions that we tolerate as well, and the metaphors we use in our daily experiences. Move on past that. So as we dive into this, there's really two things that we want to go, and there's two types of change that we deal with. There's remedial change, and many times remedial change is things that we think about in therapy, where we actually go back and try to identify things in our past and overcome those things. Remedial, going back into the past to change, to overcome them. Generative change basically says, I am where I am now, and I want to do everything that I can to move from this point forward and make changes to my future, and without having to deal with the things from the past. So we good so far? Somebody give me a thumbs up, kind of let me know that we're good and you can hear me okay. So I'm going to go on and move on here while we do that. Any questions on anything so far as well? So, all right. So ultimately, when we talk remedial change and generative change, ultimately we want generative change. It can also be called transformative change. And I find this kind of ironic as we talk about this is change is a type of transformation. Change by definition is transient. It's constantly moving. You say, I want to lose 5 pounds, and you lose 5 pounds, that's change. But if we gain the 5 pounds back, that is also change. So change is transient. Transformation is where we make the change and it sticks. So I kind of find it funny that we call it transformative change. But then we dive into the questions part. And how many people are familiar with something called the Reticular Activating System, the RAS?
Or maybe who isn't?
Yes.
Anybody isn't?
Yeah. Anybody not familiar with the RAS?
For me, this goes back to college biology.
Yeah. The search image of animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, like predator-prey dynamics.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it kind of is that same thing. So the reticular activating system, if you're not familiar with it, is I have I see a car, I go out and I buy a white car, and I have not seen the same white car that I am now buying. All of a sudden you buy it and you see it everywhere you go. It's the same car or very, very similar cars. I have a kind of sunburst orange car, and I'd never seen one. I see them all over the place now. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so that's your reticular activating system. Basically, think of it as the reticule, or looking through the lens, and so that the things that you see. So think of it as what you focus on is what you see or what you get. So, all right. So I want to identify 4 types of questions that we deal with from the filtering system of the reticular activating system, or the RAS. One is present state. That's where I am. There's the stuck state, which is basically a feedback loop into the present state, and I'm just driving back into it, and it actually amplifies the present state. We have a target state, which is where I want to go, and then there's what's called empowering questions. Empowering questions help me to identify how to get where I want to go. They're also called process questions. Anyway, so all right, so we talked about the empowering questions. Empowering questions help to drive us into that target state. So, all right, so basically, as we talked about stuck states, these questions ultimately amplify the present state. And some examples of some stuck state questions are, why am I so stupid all the time? That's a big one. Why can't I make more money? Why can't I get to sleep? Why can't I focus? If you think about these, what these do is you're asking a question, and then your brain goes, if I say, why am I so stupid all the time? Your brain starts going through, well, there's this reason, there's this reason. Well, you hang out with stupid people, you're doing all these things instead of studying, you're doing all these things instead of working, and it starts identifying all the reasons that you are stupid and amplifies that present state. Why can't I make more money? I'm focusing on the facts why I can't make more. Why can't I get to sleep? You sit there and you're laying down and you're, okay, I need to go to sleep. I've got to get 4 hours rest. I got to get 5 hours, 8 hours. Can't think about going to sleep. All of a sudden, why can't I get to sleep? Start thinking of all those reasons. So why questions are negative when we're trying to solve personal problems because they're remedial in nature. They're actually going back and finding the reasons that we're trying to overcome. When we're trying to move forward, not a good place to be. Same kind of thing happens. This is not a stuck state question, but more of a stuck state statement. When we think, I can't afford it because I have so much debt, again, I'm focusing on the debt and I'm focusing on the fact that I can't afford it. And I'm basically going to keep myself in that spot where I can't move myself forward. So hopefully that kind of makes sense from what a stuck state question or statement is going for you.
That was me
What
at
is
3
that?
o'clock this morning.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I had a little bit of a rough night. Wasn't feeling too well, and I think there was a lot of, okay, it's 2 a.m. Why can't I get to sleep now?
Yes.
And then it was, okay, it's 4 a.m. Why can't I get to sleep now?
Yeah.
I was unfortunately having some physical complications with that. So
Yes.
today is slightly better.
Yep. We won't talk about this.
Yeah.
Yep. So for most of us, we want to move from the present state of wherever we are to a target state. And a target state is, what do I want to achieve? I want to achieve sleep. I want to achieve being smarter. I want to achieve making more money. Whatever that is, I'm wanting to move from present state to a target state. And by doing that, we actually use process questions. And what's a process question? These are how and what questions. How and what questions start the brain to think about solving the actual problem instead of focusing back on the problem. So some examples of the process questions to the stuck state ones of, why am I so stupid all the time? How can I get smarter? So just by shifting the question that I'm asking, I'm now focusing on doing the things that I can do to make myself smarter. How can I get to sleep? Yeah, start thinking about, okay, I can do deep breathing. I can do this. I can change positions. I can make the room cooler. Whatever it is, how can I get to sleep versus why can't I get to sleep? How can I focus more? Okay, I can turn off Facebook. I can do all these things to be able to focus more, thinking about moving it forward. And then what can I do to make more money? So again, process questions. They begin the process of moving you forward to your target state instead of keeping you focused in a stuck state. So, but there is one that we really, really enjoy, and this is really kind of the ultimate process question. And is it, how can I get smarter today from yesterday and have a blast doing it? So ultimately, all of us want to be smarter. If I'm smarter, I'm typically going to make more money. But if I'm stuck just being smarter, but I don't have fun doing it, that's no way to live life either. We want to be able to have a blast while we're doing it. So it's, if I'm doing my job, it's how I live my life, any of those things. And it doesn't have to be smarter today, but it can be, how do I have a better life today from yesterday and have a blast doing it? But it's really an ultimate process question because it brings in multiple thought streams. Any questions so far? Anybody got anything? So, all right. We're going to keep chugging on along. How are we doing on time? Quarter after. Wow. We're kind of flying on through here.
Yeah.
So
We're shooting for half hour.
yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about metaphors. Now, metaphors are something that you're going to see is that you never really think about, but we use on average 6 metaphors every single minute. And most people are going to like, what metaphors am I using? What is a metaphor? So let's first start by defining what a metaphor is. And I love Aristotle's definition of it. And it's the process of giving a name to something that belongs to something else. So the things that a metaphor, as I was doing some research, one of the metaphors that came up was actually Shakespeare, and it's Juliet is the sun. So Juliet is not the sun, but identified her as the sun. So basically you gave her the name of something that belongs to something else. It's a great way of kind of thinking about what a metaphor is. So the metaphors that we use in daily life, there's kind of 2 parts of them. One is just in everyday language. I see what you mean, right? So you're not physically seeing the words come out of somebody's mouth. You're not seeing what they actually mean, but you're using a metaphor of seeing what they mean. Yeah, another one is, I feel what you're saying. I feel you when you talk about that, right? You're not actually, hopefully, not reaching up and feeling somebody.
Never.
Maybe, but that's not typically what we're talking about. I'm climbing out of debt, right? And again, that's another metaphor. You're not physically climbing. There's not a pile of debt, which is another metaphor, obviously. Or I'm moving forward. I'm creating momentum. All these things that I'm using from a language perspective. But the ones that kind of create stuck states for us is the one that really we have to focus on. These are things that we need people to help us to identify them. We need to write them down. We need to think about them. We need to really identify these, how often we're using them in our lives, and try to eliminate them. So like I'm stuck in this job, or I'm stuck in this relationship. You're not physically stuck. You're not in quicksand. You can move. Obviously, if you can move every single day, you're not in a jail cell. You're not physically stuck. Another one, I'm broke. Not broken. Hopefully you don't have a broken arm, broken leg, broken back, things like that. But the words of saying I'm broke, again, is a metaphor that creates a stuck state. It creates a specific visual that's in there. I'm spiraling. I'm trapped. This person is unstable. And the big one that I really find and started thinking about this is I'm depressed, right? You're not physically depressed. The depression is, a hole in the ground, is something you're depressing a button, or you're actually pushing a button. When you're depressed, you're not physically depressed, but it is a metaphor for our state. And there's a lot of kind of things that go along with depression that where, yes, we have neurotransmitter issues that go on, but right now they're saying about 1 in 4 people deal with depression of some sort. And if I'm dealing with depression, most of those are, you're getting SSRIs, you're looking at medications. Depression is identified by symptoms until we test for neurotransmitter issues. But if we can just change the actual stuck state by using certain questions, we can change many times what people are dealing with from a depressed state. So I love the concept that we don't have to deal with depression. We can just change the actual mental state that we're in. Again, it's not all encompassing when we're talking about depression. There is obviously some very medical things that go on with depression, but it's a great way to think about it. So moving on a little bit to power words here. Power words also work with metaphors, but power words and power language are things that invoke a positive or negative state immediately. So there's a power word in both of these sentences. So hopefully you can identify what the power word is. So have you ever said or heard somebody say, doesn't matter if you succeed or fail, all that matters is that you try. Or if at first you don't succeed, try again. So obviously I would hope that you realize that try is the power word, right? Try is just in its definition implies failure. If I'm trying to do something, that means that I am going to, but it's okay if I fail. If I use the word try, I'm basically giving myself permission to fail. As Yoda says, do or do not. There is no try. Jen has a mug that says it. I grew up as a Star Wars fan, so love Yoda. But yeah, if you think about try, you're most likely going to accept failure. And if you really want to help to ensure somebody's going to fail, make sure you tell them to try. So here's another one that goes along with that power language of try. So if you ask someone to do something, never ever take try for an answer. So say, hey, I got to move this weekend. Can you come over and help me? Oh, I'll try. All you have to do is simply ask, is that a yes or a no? That's all you have to do. If it's no, try is going to imply no, right? If you get yes or no, you know that you can or cannot count on that person. It's a simple ask. Is that a yes or a no? So never, ever take try for an answer. How we doing so far? Anybody got questions on anything? If you've got questions, just pop them in the box there. We're doing a time about 25 after? All right. So as we think about language and we think about the questions that we're asking, we think about the metaphors. So if we can start identifying the metaphors that I'm using, and you really start catching yourself on those metaphors, we think about the process questions. Before we ask the process questions and we want to create change in my life moving forward, there's really 3 simple steps that I'm going to do with this. I want to have a better job. I want to, have a better relationship. I want whatever it is. I need to identify that target state. And it's really a simple question. What do you want? Now, the big one that I get as we're working with people and we're coaching people, and you say, well, what do you want? And people start saying, well, I know I don't want to be depressed, right? Well, I didn't ask what you don't want, I asked what you want, because what I don't want is an infinite list. It's like, I don't want to think about, okay, what I don't want to be is depressed. Well, what I want is to be happy, is to have a great life, do whatever it is. So we have to identify the actual target state that we want. Then we're going to begin to ask the process question. Well, how can we get you there? So if we are asking somebody, how can we get you there? How can you get there? It's the process question to begin thinking forward and identifying the ways that we can move from where we are in the present state to that target state. And then the third one is ask a timeline question. The timeline question is basically, what do I have to do now to get it? Because if I just ask, how do we get you there, but I never identify the time frame or when I'm going to start, our natural procrastination is going to take over, and I'm not going to begin to work there. So I want to identify that target state. I want to ask how we're going to start moving there, and then I want to ask what I have to do now or immediately to begin that process. And pretty simple. It's going to identify it and kind of start to move you forward. So hopefully that kind of gives you some ideas on the question standpoint. And you're going to start identifying the metaphors that you use. Again, you need to catch yourself. Well, I can't do this because I don't have the money. Okay. Well, if it's something you want, start identifying, how do I get the money? Okay. That's one of your target states. Process question, how do I get there? How do I start to move there now? Well, what can I do? Can I take a second job? Can I do this? Can I do that? And begin that process of moving forward. So that's really how you're going to begin creating change in your life. 3 simple steps: identify a target state, ask the question, process questions, and then ask the time question. So we flew through this. I was thinking that this is going to be, maybe I've had too much caffeine today.
You're kind of flying.
Did I?
I'm on the opposite end. That's
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we kind of equal out on there. So there's so many different ways that we can go with this, and I was afraid I was going to go way too long on this. So yeah.
Again, this is thought-provoking.
It is, yeah. So come up with some questions here. What do you think about the metaphors? What do you think about the change questions that we do? We don't have the answers to your questions because those are things that you actually have to answer yourself. And again, that's where a lot of the coaching things come in. But you don't need a coach to do these things. You can take a journal and start writing them out pretty simply as well. So what questions do we have? Anything? Do you have anything? We have a couple of people in the house. Missy, you have any questions on creating change in your life?
I can't think of it. She's mute at the moment.
Okay.
I'm trying to be quiet.
Okay.
So let me end this by just reminding you or letting you know that we're going to hopefully be converting webinars into podcasts and sort of reinvent our podcast a little bit. So High Perf Vet Pros on iTunes and Spreaker.
Yeah.
And so we will convert this, so feel free to share it.
Right.
So, as we move forward, we'll probably put all the webinars out that way. And then we've got a few interviews already saved up to do that way as well, to put out in the podcast.
Yep.
And then I'd also like to mention that I obviously am a little bit under the weather today, but Ryan has really taken the reins, and I appreciate that because today's actually his birthday as well. And so he spent his birthday sort of finalizing things on this that I'm normally the one to do all those little fine details, and he took care of it. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Yes. Well, thank you. All right. So let's talk about the next webinar. We're going to be doing another webinar. So last quarter we did them pretty much weekly, and it was difficult sometimes with schedules to get everything done. So we were going to move to basically every other week or twice a month. So our next webinar is going to be the psychology of eating and nutrition. So let's look at the mental states that go along with it. That's going to be on Tuesday, January 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can register at highperfliving.com/eatingpsych, EATINGPSYCH, and that'll take you directly in there. That's the shortened way of getting there. We'll obviously be posting these things in the group and on the Facebook page and all the different things, sending it out in email. So kind of let everybody know what they are. So hopefully that kind of gives you the basics on the language of success and failure, and in a really simple terms. Just watch what you're saying, start thinking about those things, and you can make huge changes in your life.
Yeah, particularly the things you say to yourself.
Yes. And even the things you ask, obviously, of others as well, right? So you don't need a coach sometimes. Sometimes you just need other people to ask you the questions. So, all right, I'm going to turn the screen off so it doesn't do that cascading thing. Thank you, Kate and Casey for the birthdays. I appreciate that. It's been a great day. So every day is a wonderful day. I had kind of a different post I did reflecting from 4 years ago today. So anyway, all right. You got questions? Shoot them to us. You can obviously hit us up on the Facebook pages as well, where most of you are in the groups. Shoot us questions there. Be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we're going to sign off for the evening, and everybody have a great night.
Yep, you'll hear from us soon. My scratchy voice.
Thank you for joining us at High Performance Vet Pro Radio. We hope to hear from you soon. Like this episode? Leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. It helps us to reach more veterinary professionals. For more information or to contact us, please visit us at highperfliving.com. Until next time, remember to live every day with intention.